Yo, what's up, everyone? Welcome to this week's episode of EBC Sports International. I'm your host, EJ Gonzalez, coming to you from Alexandria, Virginia. We thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you're all staying safe and healthy during these interesting times. And as always, I'm joined by some of my good friends who I love to talk sports with, and we got two from Canada tonight, y'all. From the East, we have Adian Pangalinan. Oh, Adian, I think you're muted, bro.
Sorry about that. I'm glad to be back.
Good.
Thanks for having me once again.
Yeah, man. Glad to have you, man. And from the West, we have Zsolti Horvath. What's up, bro?
What's up, guys? I'm living in the West now, but originally from Connecticut. So you know I got that husky blue, that Gino Auriemma slick back hairstyle, because the Husky women are in the Final Four playing right now. Go Huskies.
Yep. Currently down, by the way, but, you know, hopefully
let's not talk about that.
Move on. Okay. And from Washington, joining us again is Michael Hudson. What's up, man?
What is going on, guys? Glad to be here as always.
Yes, great to be here with all you guys. And again, before we go on, just want to remind our viewers that we are by no means experts, but rather a good group of friends expressing our own opinions and share the same passion of sports. Before we get into our discussions, let's catch you guys up on some recent sports news. First off, we have Michael Hudson with some big news regarding his Seattle Seahawks. Mike?
Thanks, E. So the Seattle Seahawks fans can rejoice because they have just given wide receiver Tyler Lockett a 4-year contract extension worth $69.2 million, or as much as EJ makes per year for being on the show. The 7-year pro is by far one of the most underrated wide receivers in the league, posting 1,000+ yards receiving this past season, becoming the second pair in Seattle Seahawks history, along with fellow wide receiver teammate DK Metcalf, topping 1,000 receiving yards marked together in a single season. So he's also fifth in the league in most receiving touchdowns for the past 3 seasons as well. His new contract, actually he was entering the last year of his 3-year, $31.8 million contract extension he signed back in 2018. So this new contract will include $37 million in guaranteed money. Back to you, E.
Man, what a bag. But thanks, Mike. I wish I was making that much for sure. But and now a major headline in college athletics. Here's Zsolti with a scoop. Zsolti?
All right, thanks, EJ. And you know what? This news came out on April Fool's Day, so I was back and forth on whether it was even true or not, but it was. So North Carolina basketball coach Roy Williams, who is already a member of the Hall of Fame, is retiring after 33 seasons, and get this, 903 wins. Williams finishes his career third all-time in wins by a D1 head coach. He reached the 900-win milestone in fewer games and seasons than any coach in NCAA history. His 903 wins in 33 seasons is 100 more than any other coach in NCAA history, including Duke legend Coach K, Mike Krzyzewski, and his own mentor, Dean Smith. Roy Williams began his college career first as a player at North Carolina under the Hall of Fame coach Dean Smith, then became an assistant on Smith's staff, where he served from 1978 to 1988, before I was born. Then he took over as head coach in Kansas. With the Jayhawks, he won over 400 games while losing only 101. From 1988 to 2003, he then returned to UNC in 2003, where he has been since. There have been many rumblings regarding who's going to take over for the longstanding coach, but the administration has already said they want to keep it in the family and hire within. Back to you, EJ.
Thanks, Zsolti. Yeah, that's some big shoes to fit, man. So, definitely got to take their time in deciding who that next head coach is going to be. Lastly, we have some UFC news from Adian. What's up, man?
Thanks, EJ. The reign of Stipe Miocic as the heavyweight champion is over. It's time to make way for the new king, that is Francis Ngannou. At UFC 260, Ngannou defeated arguably the greatest heavyweight fighter of all time in Miocic by way of a brutal second-round TKO. This was the second time these two fought for the title of baddest man on the planet, and it was Miocic who prevailed the first time by using his wrestling and ground and pound, but this time around, Ngannou made the necessary adjustments and landed the perfect combination to overcome the former champion. Miocic released a statement on his social media stating, "Losses aren't fun. They always sting for a while, but that's the beast of this business. You can't win them all, and it's important to understand that losing is just as much a part of sports and life as winning." Meanwhile, Ngannou made history as he became the first African-born champion of the heavyweight division in UFC history, and also the third current champion from Africa, which is another milestone in UFC history. The others are Kamaru Usman in the welterweight division and Israel Adesanya in the middleweight division. This has to be huge for all of Africa and also for Ngannou, who quickly rose to UFC stardom, and he now stands atop the scariest division in the UFC. He went from being homeless in the streets of France to heavyweight champion of the UFC all within 8 years. And you can only wonder what's next for Ngannou. Maybe a trilogy rematch with Miocic, Ngannou versus Lewis Part 2, or the super fight with John Jones. That just might be the biggest fight in UFC history. Only time will tell. Back to you, EJ.
Thanks, Adrian. Man, what a story from rags to riches, and congrats to Ngannou. So now you're caught up with some updates from around the world of sports. We're going to take a quick break, and after the quick break, me and the guys, we're going to talk some basketball. So don't go anywhere. EBC Sports International will be right back.
For some entrepreneurs, their voice is their business. Voice over talents, voice actors, voice artists, voice coaches. They belong to the creative service industry's thriving business accelerated by the global pandemic that requires work and collaboration to be done remotely. This week, we will hear the titan of Filipino voice acting and the highly sought-after voice director and trainer to share his views on the topic, Your Voice, Your Business.
Kung ano ang kaya mong ibigay ng libre, doon ka maaaring kumita ng malaki. Ano yon? Siyempre, skills mo, time mo, yung heart mo, yung puso mo sa ginagawa mo. Wala first of all, mabuhay ang sambayan ng Pilipino. Alam nyo, sabi ko sa iyo, huwag nyo kong subukan. Diba, sabi ko, bawal ang droga, kundi patay ka diha.
Pocholo de Leon Gonzalez, known as the voice master of the Philippines, will be joining us in this episode of Open for Business.
Broadcast journalist Wang de la Fuente returns on Philippine television and radio to deliver top stories and engage with the country's policymakers, shapers, and movers. Tatalakayin ang mga pangunahing balita alas 7 ng umaga mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes, live sa teleradyo ng Net25 at Radyo Aguila DCEC 1062. Kasama si Wang de la Fuente sa Balitalakayan.
Welcome back, everyone. Now, time to kick off our discussions. We have a handful of old faces in new places, and let's focus on the big name players. Victor Oladipo, Aaron Gordon, LaMarcus Aldridge, and Andre Drummond. These guys had their debut games with their teams. Aaron Gordon played his third game, actually, with the Nuggets, and in his last game, made a big contribution on both ends of the court. Aldridge played his first game in over a month, but he showed he still got it. Oladipo, he had a lackluster debut with 6 points in 23 minutes of play, but many are still expecting him to play a big part in the Heat's success. And then, unfortunately, Andre Drummond exited his debut game early with a toe injury. But reports say he's only going to be missing a game or two, so that's good news. But after seeing their first games with their new teams, I want to get you guys' take. Adrian, what's your impression, your first impressions on these guys in some new uniform?
I mean, we got to talk about the Brooklyn Nets right off the bat. They were scary before they got Aldridge. Now they're terrifying. I don't know how you can even beat this team. I would expect them to go undefeated for the rest of the regular season. By the way they play, it's like at all times they have a 20-point score on the floor at all times. And it's just it's crazy because they were so loaded before. Now they're just it's too much. It's too much. But the one guy I do want to say is Aaron Gordon. He's made a big difference. Denver's 3-0 since they've acquired Aaron Gordon, and they didn't really give up much to get him. Gary Harris was kind of in and out of the lineup all season.
Right.
He's been a little injured, and Aaron Gordon is the guy they needed. They needed somebody to guard the LeBrons and the Kawhis of the Western Conference, and even Luka Doncic. I think they got a good one because he seems to be fitting like a glove.
Nice. Good takes. I mean, but the crazy part about Brooklyn, right? We keep saying these guys look so good, but we've never actually seen the complete team on the floor together. Durant hasn't played, man. I mean, Kyrie Irving was finally able to play, but this time James Harden wasn't there in LaMarcus Aldridge's debut game, right? So there was definitely that time for Aldridge to show his talent, and he definitely did. I know we were talking before, and we thought that Aldridge might not really make a big impact because that team was already so stacked. And, you know, Jolty, these guys that we mentioned, they're joining stacked teams. So, you know, in your opinion, who will end up having the biggest impact this season between the four guys that I mentioned in Oladipo, Gordon, Drummond, and Aldridge?
Okay, so before I answer that, I do want to go back to Brooklyn for a second.
Sure.
Because we're talking about how stacked they are. I just love Blake Griffin's comments about how everyone was talking about how trash he was before he went to Brooklyn. And as soon as he went there, it was all of a sudden unfair, right? So I just want to bring that up because I found that pretty hilarious. I agree with Aaron Gordon. I mean, with the new starting five, you got Aaron Gordon, Jokic, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., and Will Barton. These guys only played in their 3 games a combined 64 minutes together, and they've outscored their opponents by 48 points. And that's not even talking about the defensive side. This is just, you know, offensive scoring. Like that's almost unfair. Okay. Oladipo, though, I think he's going to fit right in with Miami. And you said it was kind of a lackluster, debut. It is his first ever debut. I just looked this up probably half an hour ago. Apparently, it's his first ever debut where he didn't score at least 19 points. He only had 6 in the game. But if you think about how that game went, Curry, it was against the Warriors. Curry scored 36 with 11 rebounds. Draymond got a double-double, and the Warriors lost. Like, Oladipo stepped up, played some defense in the 23 minutes he played, and they won the game. Like, that's bigger than if Curry scores 36, they're winning the game, not sure. Last night. So,
yeah, no, great take. I mean, Oladipo, I think, like you, I think he's going to make a great impact with the Heat, and they just have so many weapons. But you were talking about Denver. They got Jokic, right? MVP. Well, first, right now at the number 1 spot for the MVP race, and we're not even talking about Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., who's starting to take their stride. Like, Michael Porter Jr. had 28, I think, that game. He's producing numbers, and Jamal Murray is actually having a career high in field goal percentage as well. And then they add Aaron Gordon. So I don't know. I think the Nuggets are the ones who's scary in the Western Conference. But Mike, I'm gonna ask you. These guys were once considered the number 1 option on their teams, you know, Oladipo and Aldridge and these guys. Who do you see coming closest to their all-star form this season with their new team?
Well, I mean, for me, it's all about who you're surrounded with, right? And I think LaMarcus Aldridge, the way he plays, because he's so unselfish and the way he can stretch the floor. I mean, dude, this guy in his sleep can put up 30 and 10 on a game, just hitting 15-footers. I mean, he's by far probably the best mid-range center, or I'll call him a center because he's 6'10", 6'11" in the league. I think the biggest thing right now with Aldridge is that he doesn't have that pressure anymore of being that guy that he had like in Portland, where he had in San Antonio, where he just failed time and time again. He now has like 3 or 4 alpha guys in front of him, and all he has to do now is just hit open shots, set screens, rebound like crazy, and play great defense. And in Steve Nash's system, or I guess you can call it D'Antoni's system, he's going to get a lot of opportunities to score the basketball. So exactly. Out of all the guys, I would say LaMarcus has the chance because, I mean, if you look at all-star votes, I mean, I feel that he would probably be the most popular out of all the big men in the East. So,
I agree. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking more of just like straight up production, and I agree. Aldridge, I remember when I had him in my fantasy team, like in 2014, 2015. This dude got me mad fantasy points all the time, man. Always put up 20 and 10, and you know, with a lack of depth in Brooklyn, I think there definitely is like a chance for him to shine. He stepped up right into the starting lineup in his debut game and put DeAndre Jordan in the backseat. So, yeah, I can't argue with you there. But I think Drummond actually has a really good opportunity now, especially with Davis out and LeBron out, that he would be putting up some monster numbers. And this is another guy who can average 20 and 10. But with the news, let's go on to our next. Oh, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead and add. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say something real quick about Denver. I mean, yeah, Aaron Gordon's a great pick. Two things. One, it's unfortunate that Denver's in the Western Conference, right? Because I mean, it's so competitive. It's gonna be I feel like every series is gonna go 7 games. And then two, you basically, is he enough to stop Kawhi or LeBron? And I mean, in my opinion, I don't think it's enough, but I think definitely Denver's gonna make a lot of interesting series whoever they play.
Yeah, and let's not forget Jamal Murray is different in the playoffs. There's playoff Rondo, right? But there's also playoff Jamal. And when he goes into the playoffs, he takes it to an MVP level. And he's playing like an all-star right now, but he takes it up another notch. But yeah, Denver's scary over there. But let's stick with that in our next topic. The new stars in their new homes, and we're going to stick with the Western Conference. Again, Aaron Gordon, who just joined the Denver Nuggets, who are finally finding their stride and beat the Clippers last night and led the game wire to wire. The LA Clippers got Rajon Rondo, and they're actually in talks of finalizing a deal with DeMarcus Cousins, a 10-day contract with DeMarcus Cousins. So we're going to have to wait and see on that one. But the Lakers are the ones who ended up getting Andre Drummond. And, you know, despite the failure of adding a new piece or a new star, the Jazz and the Suns are still atop of the Western Conference. So, you know, with these new acquisitions in mind, and let's throw DeMarcus Cousins in the mix. Let's say he does join the Clippers. Let me hear you guys' rankings from 1 to 10 on the Western Conference teams, right? Jazz, Suns, Clippers, Lakers, and Nuggets. Who's on the top and who's on the bottom? Mike.
It's only 5, bro.
Yeah, the top 5. Rank from 1 to 5.
Top 5.
Yeah, you said top 10. I was confused. Sorry, yeah, top 5.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Yeah, top 5. Rank from 1 to 5. Those 5 teams. Mike, let's start with you.
Gotcha. So, you know, with the number 1 as it's going right now, I'm gonna have to say Denver, just because, you know, I think having Aaron Gordon there, they're gonna catch fire at the right time. They had great momentum going into the end of the season. Number 2, I'm gonna have to go with the Clippers because, you know, they just came off that 6-game winning streak. Granted, they lost the other night, but they're starting to play really well. And when Rondo gets there, I'm telling you, that's a huge acquisition and exactly what they need, especially in the playoffs. Yeah. It's just that mental toughness that they have. Number 3, I'm going to go with the Jazz. Number 4, I'll go with Lakers. I'll go with Lakers, just depending on when LeBron or AD come back.
Shows up.
And then 5th, I'll probably go with Trailblazers, number 5.
Oh, okay, so the Suns don't even make it. Do you think that the Trailblazers?
Oh man, the West is so stacked. Okay, I'm gonna have to put Phoenix at 4. Phoenix at 4, and then I'll put Lakers at 5.
Lakers at 5. Yeah, it's crazy. We're talking about you're putting Lakers at the bottom of those 5 teams. Adian, how about you? What's your rankings 1 to 5 for these Western Conference teams?
Yeah, EJ, I think this is a tough question because there's like, who do I think will be 1 to 5, when the season ends, and like where will their rankings be? And then there's who do I have the most confidence in the playoffs? And like I can't lose confidence in the Lakers because they're defending champs because they got LeBron James and they added a big piece in Andre Drummond. So if I'm going strictly about like the playoff success and confidence in if they'll win or not, I'm going to go with the Lakers still as number 1. And I think the Denver Nuggets would be number 2, just by a hair over the Clippers. I think that acquisition of Aaron Gordon puts them slightly above. And I'm not too high on the Rajon Rondo deal. I know there's the whole playoff Rondo thing. That's a big deal. Every playoff series, he steps up his game. But, like, he's kind of old now. I don't think it's going to keep happening season to season. I feel like this is just a team with a lot of bad vibes, right? The Clippers have not been on the same page pretty much all season. They'll rack together like 5 wins straight. Then they'll have a big loss to like one of the losing teams in the league. They've just been really inconsistent, and it's hard to believe them when they had such an epic collapse last season. And then number 3, I'm going to go with, number 4, I'm going to go with the Jazz and then the Suns. I don't think the Suns are quite there yet. I do like how they've improved with Chris Paul this season, but they're just not there yet in terms of playoff success, I think.
I mean, I agree. I mean, these are the Suns that didn't make it to the playoffs at all last year, and now they're at the number 2 spot just because Chris Paul is the man on the reins, right? Like, it's crazy that we're even talking that the Suns are in the top 5 in the West, in the Western Conference. That's just crazy
really,
to me. But
what happened there is you're replacing Ricky Rubio with an all-time great point guard. He's going to be a future Hall of Famer for sure. Chris Paul is by far better than Ricky Rubio, and he's going to carry your team to the 2nd seed, no problem.
And then you haven't seen this since like Steve Nash Suns, them being like this dominant.
Exactly. I mean, the Suns haven't been relevant since Steve Nash and Omari were over there. I mean, it's just insane. But yeah, I mean, it's just one piece. I mean, Chris Paul did prove himself last year with OKC, but they weren't at the number 2 spot. And with just Devin Booker, really, and DeAndre Ayton, I mean, they got a young core, and they're fun to watch. So I'm glad that they are finding success. How about you, Jolty? I want to hear your takes. Ranking 1 to 5 on these on the Western Conference.
All right, so I'm kind of going to go the Mike Hudson route and leave out a couple of these teams and pull some other teams in.
Wow.
Because I'm going to base this on right now, and this is solely because we still don't really know the severity of LeBron's injury and if there's going to be setbacks, right? He's still, a few weeks away at least. And then same with Anthony Davis. His timeline was, okay, maybe 2 weeks, maybe longer. Well, what does maybe longer even mean, right? Yeah. So for me, the Lakers aren't even in this top 5 right now with the way they're playing. And, Andre Drummond steps off the plane. Wow. I mean, okay, if he's here, if he's playing, if we have like a legit timeline of his return, they're in here, right? But I mean, and Andre Drummond, he steps off the plane and he's already injured, right? So it's like they have no one, okay? So they're not even in the top 5. So for me, I'm gonna go Jazz still number 1 because I don't know what they're doing there, but they're just unstoppable right now. Like it's crazy the way they're winning games. The Nuggets move all the way up to number 2 for me. Just based on the last 3 games with Aaron Gordon, they have, I think, what was the stat I was reading? They have the number 1 defense. So they're only allowing 95.7 points per 100 possessions, which is the best in the NBA since 2004. Wow. So, I mean, like they're going to be a tough team to beat. And not even to mention the stat I mentioned earlier, where they're the best scoring offense in NBA history at this rate. 3, I'm going to go with the Clippers. I mean, they're just, overall pretty good as well. And you mentioned the rumored signing of DeMarcus Cousins, which would, well, it's only a 10-day contract, but I mean, it'll definitely help them out, right? 4, it would be Portland for me. The acquisition of Norman Powell helps them out. 80, and I think you're a Raptors fan, right? So you're probably pretty upset about that.
It's all good. Had to be done.
Yeah. And then 5 would be who am I missing?
The Suns?
The Suns would be number 5 for me, yeah. And you know what? Even past the Lakers, I would even probably move up like Dallas to number 7 at this point. just based on the talent that they have in Dallas and the lack of talent in LA right now.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
I was I'm gonna say this real quick. I said this last week when Ken was here that, dude, the Lakers are in trouble. I'm telling you, LeBron and AD are going to miss way more time than what they're saying on the media. I guarantee.
Definitely, that's what I was saying too.
They have no one's there.
Yeah. The Anthony Davis injury. I don't even think it's an Achilles. Like, I mean, I don't think it's a calf. They changed it to a calf. I really thought it was an Achilles. So it looks similar to what happened to Kevin Durant when he got injured. Like when he missed like a season and a half. So I don't know. I'm kind of. I understand your rankings because it's all about the availability, and these guys are all injured. And then you look at.
I mean, EJ, you weren't here last week, but last week we were saying it's a real possibility that the Lakers miss the playoffs this year. If these guys don't come back.
Huge.
Well, it's true, and with the acquisition of Drummond, and now he's injured. And then you look at Portland, who's I don't know how they stayed in the mix while they were injured, but now they're getting healthy. So yeah, Portland could also be on a really starting their stride. And yeah, I definitely agree with you guys' takes. Really good stuff here. But guys, we're gonna take a short break, and when we come back, our panelists will give their takes on the NBA playoff picture and the NCAA tournament. This is EBC Sports International.
Factual.
We have to defeat the virus everywhere.
Timely information. Balanced. Not only in the country, but also abroad.
I'm certain of one thing.
Interviews that people need to know. Watch Agila Pilipinas. A 1-hour newscast of reports coming from regional hubs in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Know the important updates in Asia in ASEAN in Focus. Track the latest stories in the provinces in Agila Provincia. Tune into Mata ng Agila, the evening primetime news program of Net25. Balanced and objective, Mata ng Agila covers national and international issues, tackles news on business, health, science and technology, entertainment, sports and human interest features, and current events. And Eagle News International delivers the latest global reports, impartial, accessible, and up-to-date. It brings to fore EBC's rich international scope and access to valuable information streams.
Well, thank you to thank our help outdoor.
Catch these programs on Net25. You can also watch our news programs through eaglenews.ph and Eagle News Facebook page and YouTube channel.
¿Dónde está? ¿Dónde está? ¿Dónde está la llave? No, Benedito. No me diga que es que si la llave ng kwarto. Magpo-propose sana ako.
Magpo-propose sana?
I told myself, bukas na lang.
Bukas?
Ano ba yung importanteng sasabihin ninyo sa amin?
I asked your daughter to marry me.
Naalala mo nung mga bata kayo? Kung paano ko siya ginanti nung sinaktan mo siya.
Naalala mo yun?
Paano ko malilimutan? Bihira ang nagtatangkang manakit sa mga uyuin nyo.
Wow. Tú eres una nueva muy hermosa.
Sabihin mo sa amo mo na lumabas siya ng lungga niya At pigilan niya yung kasal ni Altea dun sa ilaw na Espanyol na yan! Huwag niya kamong antayin na ako mismo pumigil sa kasal nila!
Ikaw nang bahala. Ikaw nang bahalang pumigil.
Ay akin at ako'y sa'yo habang may buhay di tayo maghihiwalay.
Welcome back to EBC Sports International. Now, we touched on this a little bit before the break, but this season has been such a roller coaster as far as the playoff picture is concerned. I mean, there are teams that have had incredible winning streaks and then all of a sudden start a losing streak, and vice versa. For example, after a hot start this season, Boston is now 3-7 in their last 10 games, below 500, and in the 8th spot in the East. And in the West, there's only a 5-game difference from the 7th spot Mavs and the 12th spot Pelicans. 5-game difference. The Eastern Conference, though, it's even crazier. 6 games separate 3rd from 4th, but from 4th all the way down to 12, that's only separated by 7 games. And 12th spot is my Wizards. Adian, 11th spot is your Raptors. So let's talk. Who do we see dropping off the list? And remember, the list is top 10 this season. They top 10 make the playoffs or the play-in tournament. We'll go top 10. Who do you see dropping off of the top 10 in any conference? And who do you see making a climb? I'm going to start with you, Adian.
Yeah, you touched on how crazy of a season is. I think it's a lot of it has to do with all the COVID restrictions.
Yep.
These players are not used to their regular routine. They're being thrown out there and being asked to play, and there's no fans. It's probably eating at them. And when you have a big injury, or if you have COVID safety protocols or COVID restrictions, like it takes your team out for a long time. So I understand the inconsistency. Like, I've been following the Raptors, and it's been very hard to watch. And you want to talk about Boston? That's another team that's been up and down. So it's really hard to say. From 4 to 12 right now, I can't see the Hornets sticking with the 4 seed just because they lost LaMelo Ball. So I would expect that team to drop. And if there's a team that's going to make a playoff push, like, all you need to do is get into the top 10 seeds in the East. So I do think the Raptors can overtake the Bulls. They're right now a game and a half behind. So they could come close unless they're trying to purposely tank. They won by 53 tonight, but they lost to OKC with 3 of their best scorers. So I don't know. It's really an up and down season.
Yeah. 53-point upset against the Warriors. That's crazy to me. And the Warriors are in the playoff picture, by the way. But yeah, I don't see the Raptors sticking in the top 10, especially if the Wizards can find their stride. I'm upset. I'm an upset fan, but I'm hoping that my Wizards can overtake your Raptors. Jolty, how about you, man? Who do you see dropping off the list, the top 10, either conference, and who do you see making the climb?
Well, I mean, let's be real. The only thing that matters is my New York Knicks are in the playoffs.
I knew you would say
if the season were to end right now, yeah, in the hunt. There you go.
It would end right now. But I mean, come on, let's be real. Let's look at the Eastern Conference, and yeah, they're making the playoffs. Anyway, so in the East, I don't agree with the Raptors. I mean, well, you know what? Okay, I'll give you the Raptors can climb to number 10, which is only 1 spot. If these new guys can learn to work together with the old squad, if they can come together, if they can gel, if they can score. They're 2-8 in their last 10 games. The Bulls, who are at 10, are 3-7, and they've lost 5 straight. So I mean, it's not going to be that difficult to jump up ahead of them, but they need to come together. The Wizards, I don't understand what's happening with your Wizards, EJ. How
they're not healthy right now.
3-7 in their last. It doesn't matter. They have such good players, man. Like, they have some all-star caliber players, and they are just horrible right now. In the West, we were talking about the Lakers earlier, and they're definitely, well, I'm going to say definitely going to drop out of the top 8. They might stick around in the 9-10 range. I'm looking at the Sacramento Kings, who are 7-3 in their last 10. They lost their last one. But, I mean, they can jump up. If the Warriors keep playing like they played tonight, or even like the Grizzlies, the Kings can jump up and take one of those play-in spots. In my opinion, no problem, especially if the Lakers are at number 9 or 10. So.
Yeah, fair point. I mean, in my Wizards' defense, though, Bradley Beal is one of those guys injured, the leading scorer of the NBA, all right? So that's probably why. But, yeah, Russell Westbrook's there, and he's been playing great, but there's just not enough.
Him and Rui are lights out, but they just can't seem to win.
I know. Oh, but you were speaking about the Bulls. Let's not forget, they got Vucevic from Orlando.
Yeah.
So, if he can start, producing the way he can really produce, I don't see the Chicago Bulls dropping out of the top 10. I hope they do so that my Wizards get in there, but I don't see it. Mike, how about you, man?
They lost to the Suns the other night, and they are losing right now to the Jazz. So that's a pretty tough 2 games for Vucevic to play.
Tough teams. Mike, how about you, man? Who do you see dropping off the list?
Yeah, I'm looking at these Eastern Conference records right now, and they are hideous.
Yeah, they are.
The Bulls 19-27 in the playoff. That is just. When are we going to go just straight top 16, man? I'm still waiting for that to come. But until then, I'm going to have to agree with a lot of what you guys said already. I mean, I don't see the Hornets staying at 4. I see them more probably at the 6th spot. So I think the Heat will actually, I think the Heat will jump up to 3. And so the Bucks and the Hawks will probably be that 4 and 5 seed on the honestly, I think the Wizards have a great shot getting that 10th spot.
Yeah, if they can rack up some wins.
Yeah, I think they're gonna finally wake up and make a run at it. As far as the Western Conference, I'm looking at it now. Man, it would be interesting to see the Lakers against the Nuggets in the first round. That'd be something to see. And then, but obviously, I have the Lakers going probably to the 9th spot. And I really believe in the Warriors still. I think with Curry out, that kind of just killed their momentum a little bit. But I think when he starts playing consistently again, that's really going to help him bump up. So I have them making it to the 8th spot. And then I also have, Nuggets are obviously going to jump up. They're probably going to jump up to 1 or 2, and then the Blazers as well. So that's my take.
Can I ask you guys something?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
What do the Warriors want to do right now? Are they trying to win or are they trying to lose?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I think it's
they already had the first overall pick, so might as well get a second one.
Yeah, because it's like, with Curry out, I mean, obviously he's the only one that can create his own shot, right? And put up points. So when he's not there, it's impossible almost for them to win. So it's kind of one of those things where, hey, is it worth going for it? I think it's worth going for it because you never know. I mean, you never know what's going to happen in the West, especially if Curry can go off for 40 or 50 a game. But I mean, I wouldn't blame them if they bagged it in, especially with Clay still out and they need to reload.
Yeah, they're not playing for a championship here, so
let the Kings in. Come on, their playoff drought is so long. Just let them in.
Right.
I wish I would play the bubble, man.
Yeah, they'll be fun to watch. Me, I'm not a Grizzlies fan, so I'd rather have the Pelicans in there. I think they'll be a little bit more exciting to watch than the Grizzlies. So, but that's just me for the Western Conference. So let's take a turn to college basketball, man. March Madness has brought a lot of excitement for college sports fans this year, especially since the tournament was canceled last year. The Final Four is set for both the men's and women's division. Actually, Stanford already claimed their spot in the championship, in the women's division, that is. So in the women's division, there was actually a controversial no call in the women's Elite 8 matchup between UConn and Baylor. In the men's division, the 15th seed Oral Roberts, man, great Cinderella run this tournament, and was just one shot away from making the Elite 8. And UCLA shocked the world as they were one of the last 4 teams to make it into the tournament, and now they're one of the last 4 teams standing. So I've been enjoying March Madness, and I usually don't. But Adian, I want to start with you because there was a controversial no call, as I mentioned, in the women's Elite Eight game between UConn and Baylor. Did you see that? And what were your takes on that no call?
Hey, I saw the play. To say that the game was decided by that one play, I think we always focus on the single play, the last play of the game. But like, hey, if you want to win, don't let it be that close. You got to find a way to win in the first 46 minutes. Don't leave it to the last 2 minutes of the game. I realize they don't play 48 minutes in NCAA, but that's beyond the point. You know, fouls like that happen. To me, it looked like a foul. You can see there was contact on her arm. But if it's a no call, hey, what are you gonna do?
Right. Let them play it out. Let them play it out. Best basketball wins, right? I mean, but Jolty, I want to go to you because you've been raving about the tournament this year, man. What team, what player, what's impressed you most about the tournament this season?
Well, okay, first off, that no call. I mean, there are screenshots of at least a dozen no calls on both sides throughout the entire game that should have been called. And, you know, it's a last-second play. I mean, the thing is, okay, if they don't call it, the refs are going to get trashed for it. If they call it, they're going to get trashed for it by the UConn fans. Right. So either way, it's a lose-lose for the refs. I mean, you know, just let them play. Is the same thing Adian said. Who has looked good for me is, I mean, we got to talk about UCLA, right? I'm pretty sure Mike's going to talk about him too, or he's going to talk about Gonzaga. Who knows? Because that's his team. Johnny Juzang, oh my goodness. This guy is insane. I mean, in the Sweet 16 matchup, or was it Sweet 16 matchup, he fouled out and they still won, which was mind-blowing to me because this guy runs this team, this UCLA team. There was a stat. It was like UCLA had 20 points in the first, partially through the first half, and he had 18 of those points. Like, that's ridiculous. He finished a game against #1 Michigan where they won by 2 points. The team scored 51 points. He scored 28 of those points. That's more than half of the team's points. That's how valuable this guy is to this team. And if they, I mean, okay, first off, they're playing Gonzaga. They're not going to beat Gonzaga this weekend. But if they do, he should be, player of the tournament, hands down. And this guy might be, for those who don't know, he's half Vietnamese. He might be the first Asian American lottery pick in this upcoming draft, which is huge.
Yeah. He's fun to watch, man. He's fun to watch. Johnny Juice. How are you, Mike? How have you enjoyed the tournament so far?
Oh, I love it because me being a huge Gonzaga fan, it just feels so good, especially when you see Drew Pau Gasol, Timmy, just dominating every
mustache,
He plays exactly like Pau Gasol, dude. He reminds me exactly. Dude, he is just, his footwork at his age, he's only a sophomore, by the way, is just absolutely incredible. He's like a mix of like Pau Gasol, Christian Laettner. I mean, this guy does it all.
Jackie Moon.
Jackie Moon. So, I mean, I love the UCLA story, but I'm sorry, but they are going to get obliterated tomorrow. I mean, they know exactly what they have to do to beat them. It's just double team Johnny Juice and then just let everybody else beat you. And at the same time, they're going to have to stop Drew Timmy. They're going to imagine this. Crisper and Jalen Suggs have not had a good game all March Madness yet. So they're due to have
Jalen Suggs is the best player on that team. So
yep. And Gonzaga just, I mean, they have no weaknesses. They're just too talented right now.
Yeah, they've blown.
I said it in our chat group. Yeah, I said it in our chat group. All these other teams are playing for second. Like they're not going to compete with Gonzaga. Yeah. Gonzaga can beat, I'm going to say, at least a quarter of the NBA teams right now. Like they're that good.
Wow. Yeah. Well,
especially the Raptors, the Wizards.
Hey man, okay, I'm gonna stop you there. Yeah. They're fun to watch, man. They're definitely fun to watch, man. Simi, I love it, and how he has a celebration for basically every single play that happens, man. They're just definitely fun to watch.
think this one's for his
Yeah.
mom, right?
That was awesome,
She hates
man.
it,
And
apparently. She hates it.
yeah, she does not like the mustache. She wanted him to shave it, but his teammates are like, no, you can't, man. We're on a crazy run. And I had Gonzaga in my bracket. I had Gonzaga going all the way. I don't know about you guys. You guys also had Gonzaga going all the way?
I had Gonzaga, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a fun tournament, and UCLA has been awesome. But 12 seed against the first seed, we're just gonna have to wait and see how they really can stack up against who we thought was going to be the team to beat this tournament. So great takes, guys. Let's take a break, and when we come back, let's discuss the upcoming NFL draft. EBC Sports International will be right back.
For some entrepreneurs, their voice is their business. Voice over talents, voice actors, voice artists, voice coaches. They belong to the creative service industry's thriving business accelerated by the global pandemic that requires work and collaboration to be done remotely. This week, we will hear the titan of Filipino voice acting and the highly sought-after voice director and trainer to share his views on the topic, Your Voice, Your Business.
Kung ano ang kaya mong ibigay ng libre, doon ka maaaring kumita ng malaki. Ano yon? Siyempre, skills mo, time mo, yung heart mo, yung puso mo sa ginagawa mo. Wala first of all, mabuhay ang siyempre ng Pilipino. Alam nyo, sabi ko sa iyo, huwag nyo akong subukan. Diba, sabi ko, bawal ang droga, kundi patay ka diha.
Pocholo de Leon Gonzalez, known as the voice master of the Philippines, will be joining us in this episode of Open for Business.
Welcome back, everyone, and thanks for sticking with us. Now, the NFL. The NFL draft is coming at the end of this month. It seems like months are going by like weeks, guys. But at the end of this month is going to be the NFL draft, and there are many players who have made a splash, especially during Pro Day. Let's get some insight from you guys, the NFL experts of the group, Jolty and Mike. The draft order really depends, we know, on the needs of the team, right? But the NFL is predicting the top 3 picks will be quarterbacks. And with that said, solely based on skill or talent, who are your top prospects in the NFL? Mike, I'll start with you.
I mean, the obvious choice, Trevor Lawrence. I mean, that's he's far and away locked at number 1. I mean, it's just the talent that he brings to the table and what he can do. On the field, and what he's proved time and time again has just been absolutely incredible. So he's definitely a lock at number 1. But after that, it's kind of like up in the air of who you really want to get, because I mean, you had Justin Fields, who had a pretty good pro day, which I don't really see the point of anyways. I mean, you're in a t-shirt and shorts, like throwing a football to people. I never really see the sense in that, but he did run a 4.4, which is always helpful for a quarterback. You have Zach Wilson, who had a pretty good pro day as well. And then also the standout for me so far has been Michael Pitts, the tight end from Florida, who has been heavily coveted. They're seeing him as like this brand new modern tight end type, kind of like a hybrid between like Kittle, Michael Thomas. I mean, this guy is an absolute freak when he's on the field. So I'm very interested to see where he's going to go. They're saying that the Atlanta Falcons were in the running of getting him, which would help Matt Ryan a lot, because I mean, all he has is really Julio Jones and the other receiver there. Yeah, exactly. And then aside from that, everything is kind of. I'm really interested to see where Trey Lance goes. They were saying either the 49ers or the Dolphins might get him, but I mean, all I've seen is stuff on YouTube, because I mean, their season was canceled, like we talked about last week. But aside from that, I mean, those are kind of the guys that I've been keeping my eye on, and I'm pretty excited to see where, besides Trevor Lawrence, where those guys are going to go.
Yeah, definitely. I know a lot of us, we focus on the offensive side of the ball, especially at the quarterback position. So it's no surprise to me that quarterbacks are going to be running the couple of those top few picks. But Jolty, How about you, man? Who are your top prospects in the NFL draft who's going to make an impact as soon as they get on?
I mean, so Mike mentioned Kyle Pitts. This guy has the biggest wingspan in NFL history.
Yeah.
Like, think about that. His wingspan is that big, and he's already 6'6", 240 for a tight end. Like, this guy is going to be a monster in the red zone. Like, literally, just toss it up. This guy's going to catch it. And that's what he was in Florida, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so another guy I'm keeping my eye on is Jamar Chase, wide receiver out of LSU. This guy is a freak of an athlete, 6 foot 208. I didn't get a chance to see what his 40 was, but that doesn't matter. I don't care about 40s because game speed is totally different than your 40. Like, there's a clip of, Chris Johnson ran, was like a 4.23 or something in his combine, which is the NFL record. In game, they timed him when from like the 2-yard line, he ran a 98-yard touchdown. The guy ran a sub 4 second 40. That's how fast he was. Game speed, completely different than 40 speed. So quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance. I was teasing this off air about what I'm hearing. There are rumblings of who the 49ers moved up from the 6th spot, gave up 3 draft picks to move up 3 spots to the number 3 spot. And rumors are they're taking Mac Jones at number 3.
Oh, why?
Which is absolutely mind-blowing.
Oh, that is
because
mind-blowing.
He's going to be there at 6. So why are you giving up 3 spots or 3 draft picks to move up 3 spots? Because, first off, Miami's not taking him. I'm thinking Miami's taking Jamar Chase because Tua is the kind of the dump it down to like the slants kind of quarterback, and that's all Jamar Chase did in LSU. Caught the ball, ran it 60 yards for a touchdown. That's all Jamar Chase is. Atlanta's not taking a quarterback. They took Kurt Benkert last year or 2 years ago, and they still have Matt Ryan, who's fine, right? The Bengals aren't taking a quarterback. They took Joe Burrow last year. So, I mean, literally, at 6, you would have had your choice of, Zach Wilson would probably go on to the Jets, but you would have had your choice at, if you wanted Mac Wilson, he would be there. If you want Trey Lance, he'd be there. If you want, who were we just talking about? The Ohio State quarterback, Justin Fields, he'd be there. So to give up this much, to move ahead of teams who weren't taking a quarterback anyway, is just mind-blowing.
I love it. Keep making mistakes, 49ers. I love it.
Hey, man. We're just going to have to wait and see, how this goes down. I think my Washington football team has the 19th pick. I don't know who you guys might have seen dropping down to 19. It was funny because their social media, who won the Heisman this year?
Devontae Smith.
Devontae Smith. Yes, they had our social media team puts out an image of Devontae Smith. And everyone was just like, there's no way this guy is dropping all the way to 19th for you guys. So I know we're dreaming.
You never know because a lot of these teams need linemen. And, like the last at least 10 years, linemen are a hot commodity in the first round. Like, look at the Vikings. They picked 22nd or 23rd overall last year. And we got Justin Jefferson, who should have been the rookie of the year. These guys fall because teams need linemen.
Exactly, right. It all depends on what the team needs. So go ahead, Mike.
And I see a lot of these teams ahead of Washington football team. I mean, they have wide receivers already. I mean, you look at Arizona Cardinals, they're loaded. Minnesota, they have a good wide receiver core. The Chargers, the Eagles, the Giants just signed Holiday. So, I mean, it's possible, man. I mean, you could drop down any team.
Okay, well, I'm glad I brought that up because you guys are getting my hopes up. And if we do get another addition at the receiver position, I'm telling you, Washington is running the NFC East, man. So I love the acquisitions we made in the offseason, by the way. I'm excited for the next season. I think when Jeremy was here, I think 2 episodes ago, he already claimed it. We're going to the Super Bowl. And that's just how Washington fans are. that's just how Washington fans are. But guys, we can't end without our question of the week. All right. So this is the question of the week. It's situational. You get one shot. If you miss it, you get nothing. A free throw for $1,000 cash, an NBA three-pointer, okay? NBA three, not college. NBA three for a brand new car, or half court for a brand new house. How greedy are you getting? Are you risking it all? What shot are you taking, Adian? I'm gonna start with you.
What kind of car are we getting? Because if it's like, is it a Tesla or something? Like, okay,
any car, any brand new car. So
you're gonna go with it. Any brand new car? Okay. There's cars that are worth more than a house, so I'd rather take a three-pointer than a half-court shot.
Oh, true. Okay. Maybe like a middle tier brand new car, but sure, Tesla is fine. So all right, you going for the three.
You
making the
most makeable shot. I would have to do a lot of praying, but I think I could make it. I really had to.
All right, Jolty, how about you? What shot you taking, man?
Listen, I don't know if y'all know the real estate in Vancouver, but a teardown is worth over $1 million. So if we're talking a top of the line house in Vancouver, I'm going for this half court shot, hands down.
Man, all right, that's gutsy. Because if you miss, you get nothing. But hey, you just
I'm living, bro. I'm living. I'm fine.
That's true. And if you make it, you get everything. Mike, how about you, man? What shot you taking?
Throughout my basketball career, I was about a 95% free throw shooter. So I'm gonna go shoot the free throw, get 1,000. I'm gonna invest it and then buy my car.
There you go. He's a businessman, smart man. I'd go for the easy money. I think I'm a 3-point shooter, but I think just free throw is just for a car is just too much on the line. I think $1,000 free throw. I think I can cash that in. But and that's all the time we have for this week's edition of EBC Sports International. On behalf of everyone on our panel this week, thank you so much for joining us, and be sure to tune in again next week, and make sure to visit our websites at eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at EagleNewsPH to join the conversation. For EBC Sports International, I'm EJ Gonzalez. We live in interesting times.